How do you escape the high-income trap? Stop this and start building wealth now. There is a strange kind of poverty that only shows up on a high income. You have seen it, maybe even lived it. Someone earns more money than most people will ever see in a year, and yet they are one missed paycheck away from panic. This is not a coincidence, and it is not bad luck. It is a trap, engineered so quietly that most people never even notice they walked into it. The moment income rises, life expands to meet it, dollar for dollar, sometimes faster. And here is the part that should genuinely disturb you. The trap does not feel like a trap while you are inside it. It feels like success. It feels like reward. It feels like you finally earned the right to enjoy what you built. But underneath that feeling, the math tells a different story, one where earning more has done absolutely nothing to move you closer to freedom. Over the next few minutes, you are going to see exactly how this trap operates, why intelligent, hardworking people fall into it every single day, and more importantly, exactly how to walk out of it for good. The first thing to understand is that a bigger paycheck creates an illusion of safety that simply does not exist. When income increases, the brain relaxes, almost instantly, treating the new number as permanent proof that things have improved. But income is not wealth. Income is a flow. Wealth is a reservoir, and a bigger flow means nothing if the reservoir never fills. Most high earners never actually calculate the only number that matters, which is how many months they could survive if the income stopped tomorrow. The paycheck feels like solid ground, when in reality it is a treadmill, one that simply moves faster the harder you run. This illusion is comfortable, which is exactly why it is dangerous. Nobody questions comfort. Nobody feels the need to audit a system that already feels like it is working. But a person can look successful on paper for an entire decade while never once building anything that would still be standing without that specific paycheck arriving on schedule. Once you see the illusion, the next question becomes obvious. Where does all that extra income actually go? The answer is almost always the same, and it has a name. Lifestyle creep, the silent multiplier that expands quietly with every raise, every bonus, every promotion. A better job brings a nicer car. A nicer car brings a longer loan. A bigger salary brings a bigger apartment, which brings bigger bills attached to it permanently. None of these individual upgrades feel excessive in the moment. Each one feels earned, reasonable, even modest compared to what colleagues or friends are doing. But lifestyle creep does not ask permission all at once. It asks for a little more, repeatedly, until one day the entire raise from 3 years ago has been fully absorbed, leaving the exact same amount of breathing room as before, just at a much higher cost of maintaining it. This is how someone can double their income and still feel exactly as financially stuck as they did at half the salary. This creates a hidden ceiling that almost nobody talks about, a point where servicing debt and maintaining a lifestyle consumes the entire benefit of earning more. Picture someone whose income rises significantly over several years. On paper, that person looks like they are winning. In reality, every single raise has already been assigned before it even arrives, split between a car payment, a mortgage stretched to its limit, and monthly minimums on credit that never seem to shrink. There is a specific point where earning an additional dollar produces almost zero improvement in actual freedom, because that dollar is already owed to something before it lands in the account. This is the debt service ceiling. And it is one of the cruelest mechanisms in personal finance because it punishes effort. The harder someone works, the more they earn. And the more they earn, the more debt expands to absorb it, keeping the person running at full speed while standing perfectly still. Underneath all of this sits something far more emotional than any spreadsheet could capture, and that is identity. Many people spend according to who they believe they are supposed to be now that they earn what they earn. A promotion does not just come with new responsibilities, it comes with an unspoken expectation to look the part, live the part, drive the part. This is rarely conscious. Nobody sits down and decides to spend their way into a costume. It happens gradually through comparison, through subtle social pressure, through the quiet fear of looking like you have not actually arrived. The tragedy is that this spending buys a story about success rather than the substance of it. A person can wear every visible marker of having made it while owning almost nothing underneath the surface. No investments, no reserves, no actual ownership stake in their own future. The income changed. The identity attached to it changed faster. There is another layer to this trap. one that keeps moving no matter how much income grows, and that is the finish line itself. Most people assume there is a specific number, a certain salary, after which the pressure will finally ease and the spending will finally feel justified. But that number keeps moving, every single time it gets reached. A person earning a modest income dreams of doubling it, certain that double will finally feel like enough. The moment they arrive, the goalpost has already shifted, because their entire social circle, their comparisons, their sense of what counts as normal, has quietly upgraded alongside their income. This is not weakness, it is a documented psychological pattern, the tendency for satisfaction to reset almost immediately after any gain, dragging the target further away exactly when it should feel closer. Chasing a finish line that moves at the same speed you do guarantees you will spend an entire lifetime running without ever once crossing it. All of this combines into something that deserves to be named plainly. Maintaining a high-income lifestyle is a second job, and it is a job nobody gets paid for. Every monthly payment, every subscription, every upgrade purchased to match a certain image requires income just to keep functioning, month after month, indefinitely. This second job never takes a vacation. It never gives a raise. It simply demands the same amount of income, forever, in exchange for allowing the lifestyle to continue existing exactly as it is. The person trapped inside this cycle is not lazy, not undisciplined, not financially illiterate. They are simply working two jobs at once, one that pays them and one that silently charges them. And the second one is winning. Escaping this trap requires a shift that sounds simple but changes everything. And that shift is learning to distinguish assets from accessories. An accessory is anything that costs money to maintain and produces nothing in return. No income, no appreciation, nothing except the temporary experience of owning it. An asset is the opposite, something that either generates income or grows in value over time, working on your behalf whether you are paying attention to it or not. High earners who escape the trap do not necessarily earn differently than those who stay stuck inside it. They simply redirect the exact same dollars toward assets instead of accessories. The car stays a few years longer. The apartment stays modest relative to income. The extra money that would have gone toward another accessory instead buys a small piece of ownership, in a business, in property, in a portfolio quietly compounding in the background, while the accessory purchases would have simply depreciated into nothing. The actual formula for escaping the high-income trap has almost nothing to do with income at all, and everything to do with a single number. Most people never calculate the percentage of income that gets saved and invested before lifestyle gets to touch it. Two people earning the exact same salary can have completely different financial futures based entirely on this one variable. A person saving a small percentage of a large income will always lose over time to a person saving a larger percentage of a modest income, because compounding rewards consistency, not size, of the amount being invested. The escape formula works by flipping the usual order of operations. Instead of spending first and saving whatever happens to be left over, which is usually nothing, income gets divided the moment it arrives, with saving and investing treated as a fixed cost, exactly as mandatory as rent. Whatever remains after that gets to fund the lifestyle, never the other way around. Alongside that formula sits something equally important, a buffer large enough to remove the fear that quietly drives so many of these decisions in the first place. Many high-income purchases are not really about the object being bought. They are about temporarily silencing an underlying anxiety about financial fragility. A person with several months of expenses sitting untouched in reserve feels fundamentally different about money than a person one unexpected expense away from crisis, even if their incomes are identical. That buffer is not just protection against emergencies. It is protection against panic-driven decisions, the kind that trap people back into the exact cycle they are trying to escape. Building this reserve first, before any lifestyle upgrade, changes the entire emotional relationship a person has with their income, because scarcity thinking fades the moment scarcity itself is no longer a realistic threat. Escaping the high-income trap ultimately comes down to a single decision, repeated every time income increases from this point forward. Every future raise, every bonus, every unexpected windfall carries a choice inside it, whether to let lifestyle absorb it silently or to direct it deliberately toward the assets and reserves that actually build freedom. This decision has to be made in advance, before the money arrives, Because in the moment it arrives, lifestyle will always ask first, and it will always ask louder. High income was never the problem, and it never had to be. The problem was always the absence of a plan strong enough to survive contact with more money. Finally, understand this. Wealth was never about how much you were paid. It was always about how much of that payment you were disciplined enough to protect from your own success.